today. What does all that history mean for his role now? How does it shape what listeners hear?
Well, he's not just the host. He's deeply involved. He covers the news, brings that grounded perspective. He does major interviews, like with Broadway director Justin Moran. But it's that lifelong immersion, that history in comics and movies, that gives him this unmatched authenticity. He's not just reporting, he's lived it. Listeners pick up on that. They trust his perspective.
Okay, let's shift gears. Next up is Jenny Feldy. Her contribution seems really multi-layered. The notes mention persecution and censorship, a really interesting career path. You mentioned her allure. Where does that come from? What makes her stand out?
What's really captivating about Jenny, and it speaks directly to that allure, is her background. It's incredibly diverse and, frankly, a bit rebellious. Professionally, she's identified with health beauty. She used to be a full-time health and fitness teacher, a speaker, a writer.
Okay, so articulate, knowledgeable.
Right. But then there's this major pivot. She says she temporarily abandoned teaching health because of persecution and censorship of natural cures. Now, that's not just changing jobs. That suggests a really unique perspective, maybe even fiercely independent, possibly anti-establishment.
Interesting.
So her allure comes from that mix. She has this established expertise, but also this clear willingness to challenge norms, to question powerful systems. It makes her presence really intriguing. She's not just reading questions off a sheet.
So after stepping away from health teaching like that, how did she end up on a show about comics and movies? It seems like a leap.
Well, her current work shows her embracing media really broadly, maybe because of that critical viewpoint she developed. She explicitly says she hosts an old-school radio show. It came from the radio. But she also produces and stars in movies, commercials, does stand-up comedy, short films. She's everywhere.
A real multi-hyphenate.
Exactly. And this quote from her profile is really telling. Media has taken over until the landscape of health evolves intelligently. It suggests she's engaging with media not just for entertainment, but maybe with this ongoing critical mission, using it as a platform. That intellectual depth adds to her appeal. She brings this wider worldview to the table.
So with that background, what kind of interviews does she do on the show? Does that unique perspective come through in her conversations?
She definitely seems to connect with a diverse range of guests. Filmmakers like Carrie Pickett and Don Mickelson, Dylan Gerbitz, authors like Anastasia Garcia. Her network must be pretty broad. And yeah, you have to assume that background, that critical lens she mentioned, shapes her interviews. She's likely probing deeper, maybe asking questions others wouldn't, drawing connections based on her own experiences with, censorship or industry pushback.
Making the conversations potentially more revealing.
Potentially, yeah. More insightful, less surface level. Plus, she appears at their live shows, so the audience gets to connect with that energy directly, which must be pretty powerful.
Okay, now let's talk about Hassan Godwin. He's noted as a co-host involved in the studio segments. The key phrase for him seems to be extremely critical and cynical eye. What does he bring to the mix?
Hassan's role as co